Hello, kind folks. So after a long day running around doing things, and lots of hard rain, and Omicron breaking out, and about to do horrific damage, and change the game completely, I just thought instead of doing a lesson, I would just maybe inform the listeners a little bit more. Who is the man speaking these words? What is my perspective? Well, where am I coming from? What is my gist? What's the cut of my jib, as some may say? Well, it's quite simple. I'm a imaginative mind and a seeker of wisdom, and I have my own ideas, as everybody should. I'm interested in magic because it's the energy of creation, and all of us share it. And everybody's path is unique, and everybody's views are unique, and I will do my best to respect others' views. The views I don't respect are those that call for violence upon other people or are malevolent without reason. While I certainly would never stop anyone's freedom of speech, I certainly suggest against dealing with the absolute metaphysical evil forces, because they are primal forces of chaos that will assuredly drive you insane, and there's power in that. Secondly, the world sees witchcraft and magic and ritual magicians. They don't really distinguish very much. It's all a vast gray area, and realize that most people out there, when you talk about any of this stuff, the thing that comes to mind is a green-faced woman riding around on a broom shooting lightning from her hands, and black cats and Halloween decorations. People don't really have a very large, firm grip. They have the idea of the young adult novel, PG-13 rated TV, made-for-TV film of the young witch. And people, they're not really scared of that because they're into natural magic. Oh, they're into crystals. They'll grow out of it. That whole thing. Oh, they look goth, whatever. They're going to grow up and get a real job. They're just hippies. All that kind of stuff. So who am I? The mystery man. Everybody's been wondering. Well, as I said, everybody's own path is unique, and my path is a unique patchwork of many things. And I would say like this. The thing with magic is it is very much when we all enter into the state of attempting to change our outside world to vast degrees through the cumulative effects of all the magical things that we put into the world, all the forces that we create. We're striving for an ultimate goal, I guess, and an ultimate vision. And in this sense, we're kind of all playing a game with each other, because whether you want to or not, or if you think you're in complete solitude or not, other people are working magic around you, and other people are everywhere, and there are eyes everywhere, and it goes on, it's limitless. So it's all where we are all basically playing a game with each other, despite everything being our own path. And my point is that sometimes it's wise not to tell everybody the full perspective of everything you are. I mean, it's all right to withhold information to the point where give someone the gist. It's like when you meet someone the first time or a new group of people. You don't tell everything. It's, you tell them the stuff to get along with, etc. Things, common items, what have you. But it's okay not to blurt the full picture of everything. You have to find that median line. So the things that I will openly say that I'm definitely into, I pull notions from all kinds of traditions. My expertise, my focus, well, that's all across the board. I'm a jack of all trades, but really master of none. But I'm good at a lot of things. And I'm a storehouse of all kinds of information that I've been absorbing. I have a fairly photographic memory as far as ideas go. Not always the pictures, but ideas. So I've taken the liberty of reading an awful lot of books for you in advance, so I could try to lead you to some shortcuts through all this jibber jabber. But I find Hermeticism interesting. I think everything there is a fairly sane view and good stuff to definitely look at. I love all the Celtic stuff. There's a lot of beauty there. I like elements of the Viking stuff. I like elements of the Teutonic German stuff. I like elements of Slavic witchcraft. I like elements of strange mythology from everywhere. I like old school Greek magic. I like all the ancient stuff. I'm very interested in learning all the lessons of the pyramids and the mystery schools of Egypt. I'm interested on that side. I'm also interested in martial arts and the Oriental wisdom, the Oriental side of things, because there's Western occultism and Eastern occultism. Western occultism is, they say, you can always keep advancing. And myself, I learned the bulk of Western occultism because it's something that is easy to understand and comprehend when we grow up in a place like America or Canada or Europe. All the classical ideas of spirituality, they're all prevalent and organized in a way that we are able to process and analyze thoroughly in a way that makes sense to us. The Oriental approach to magic and martial arts magic, however you want to say it, they say mysticism. They like the word mysticism, and that's fine. But it really is magic when it gets down to it. And Chinese magic and Japanese magic is quite intense. And they have a lot of the same ideas. So, point is, it would be, if you're going to learn the Eastern mysticism, that's when you go right for that when you're in your teenage years and just stick to that. If you're not from that martial arts background, Western occultism is where to start. And when you understand those basics, then you can turn to the Eastern side. And then you realize that the balance and you see it just from a different perspective. So both are equally valid and they complement each other. The same way that the tarot are just educational flashcards for the Kabbalah. And the I Ching hexagrams are basically like ancient Chinese tarot. So you want to look into those for sure. And here's the thing with the hexagrams, the I Ching and all this. Basically, there was a king named King Wen. And he was the guy who basically systematized the hexagrams and added it with a bunch of other like standard wisdom text of their day and basically re-released it with completely different directions hitched to all the cards, completely changed it. The same way that like King James rewrote the Bible in the British Isles, and you get the King James version where they was like the approved. So like the same sort of thing. So what you want to do is learn the I Ching hexagrams that are pre-King Wen. And there's quite a few books that do detail those, but the primitive, ancient, old school ones. So continuing onwards, I'm interested on that side of the fence, everything there. I found the Hindus didn't make any sense to me my entire life, and then I finally cracked the shell, and it made complete sense, kind of what they were talking about. There's more to see there once you finally understand and grip like what they're actually trying to communicate. And that's another lesson in and of itself. It's another one of these lessons where I'd rather have people figure it out themselves, because it was absolutely indecipherable to me my entire life. It made absolutely no sense. And once it was fully explained, like, no, here's what's going on, blah, 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 etc. So a lot of the religions that I looked the other way on. And a thing that would characterize my personal ascent or my personal understanding of all this stuff. Alchemy in all its forms, especially spiritual alchemy. A lot of people don't look enough into that, but spiritual alchemy, natural magic, everything the Tree of Life teaches, I'm totally cool with. I'm not Jewish, obviously, because I feel I have a lot of animosity towards all the major religions at one degree or another. And this is not to say that I want anything bad to happen to any of the people that practice those religions on a personal note, but I feel like with Christianity and Catholicism, you have to basically take the assumption that everything was created only for Jesus to show up and then have this weird drama play with us, and that's absolute nonsense, and that's just absolutely not happening, and that's why I can never look the other way on that. However, all of the interesting nuggets such as like Metatron's cube or any of the sacred geometry stuff that's kind of sort of talked about in Christianity, they're basically all corruptions of the Jewish text. And the thing with the Torah, the thing I didn't understand was that, the Christians took the story of Genesis and said, this is literal. But in reality, Genesis it's all a code. It's coded language for what you could say is a witchcraft diagram called the cube of space. And that's when you see all the little rabbi guys writing out all the little mathematical things that they do. And it seems like this bizarre thing they're doing, and it makes no sense. They're charting all this stuff. The story of Genesis, they're all coordinates. All the whole man and female creation story, it's all explaining the tree of life and how that moves. And it was explained in such a primitive mythological way that sounds absolutely like it would be condemning women and setting up the framework, obviously to rebel against as some ancient thing. But it's describing something very important as far as diagrams are concerned and as far as primal powers of the universe. And this is what people don't understand, that the cube of space was encoded in Genesis, and the Sefer Yetzirah is the key that is able to take all that stuff and turn it into the Tree of Life diagram. But they didn't actually release the Tree of Life finished diagram until about 1350. It was like the Jewish people's final project. Their what do you say when you're in college and you hand in your final paper, your big study to get your thing? That was it. Then it happened about 1350. So basically, the tarot cards were invented as educational flashcards for the tarot. But the thing was, when they were created and their origin, they were forgotten and basically just ended up circulating and then ended up becoming an instrument of gambling. And it started being mentioned in Napoleonic war era, different crimes people were having. But by the 1700s, they were used for gambling mostly, and people didn't really know where they came from. These days, we know it was a Jewish goldsmith who had made for whatever the purpose was. There was a royal court in Florence, Italy, in the early 1400s. And at that point, they were teaching all the students, the young children of the royal families, they were teaching them by just big educational flashcards, so they could be like, oh, this person's a bishop, this person's this is this planet, whatever. But in those educational things, there were like 30 card decks. So what happened was this really elaborate gold-plated, hand-painted Renaissance art sort of thing was made by this Jewish goldsmith in Venice, Italy, for one of these royal courts, for someone who had a lot of money. And whether it was made to teach Kabbalah or it was made as a game using Kabbalah, we don't really know. It just sort of got copied and passed down the time. So, point is, where I'm going with this is that the book of Genesis is the tarot. But it's the magical side of it, because the Christians just said this is all literal and God actually made the entire universe in 7 days, and no, it was just, again, Romans and white civilization appropriating something that didn't belong to them without even understanding what it was. And of course the Dark Ages lead into it, and then they forget that the only way to read or write after the fall of Rome and Western Europe, and when it became the Dark Ages, you had to basically be a member of the church, or you could only learn to read or write through the Bible, basically. You get taught by priests, and then they all thought the craziest superstitions were real and such. So my point is that I'm interested in wisdom, period. And I'm able to clear out the ridiculous mythology and get to the bottom of it. The thing is, there is just as much wisdom that you can acquire in the depths of the infernal, dark, black magic, chaotic side of madness and magic combined. Everything unnatural. There's as much wisdom there as there is wisdom in what might be corny. And as a way to say, oh, the holy light. I don't like to say that either, because light and darkness don't have human personification. They don't care what we think about them. They just exist. We're the ones putting it all together. And those who hide in the white light, fluffy New Age stuff more often do so because they fear the darkness because they can't see, and the light is just as terrifying as the dark. The only difference is that you can see in the light. But look at when all the worst stuff happens in human history. It's always during the day. All the people die during the day. Everything bad happens during the day. At night, it's calm. It's strange like that. But so yes, I like notions of anything that helps growth. But in the end, I think it's important. Although I have an anarchic solitude. I'm a solo act, right? I'm not against covens per se. I don't want to necessarily join a coven, but I'm absolutely friendly to all the witches. I would never put myself up to be like an ordained druid priest because at best I'm a heretic druid. But the druid thing, it's really an open-ended situation. But I think it's about if you completely respect the core notions, then it's okay to use that word. Me, I just don't like to use words. But I think others would put that sort of druidic witchcraft label on me, more in that direction. If someone was looking in and didn't know, that'd be a way to perhaps see me, because I am heavily influenced by the Celtic stuff. But heretic druid at best, as far as that is concerned. A solo act. You could say high priest of witchcraft who refuses to participate with any coven and refuses to do anything, just my own thing in my own corner. Because the thing is, in the ancient days, the word wizard, it comes from wizard. It was a profession. It was a jack of all trades. Like when you watch Django Unchained and you have the little German guy and he's got that little horse and buggy with the big tooth on top and he's like the dentist guy. Well, wizards would go town to town with little horse and buggy like that, selling all kinds of things. They knew every little bit, psychological advice, social advice. They basically, when the Druidry broke down, the spirit of that just became a free, open enterprise. Once the Romans went away, like the spirit of it just turned into whoever wanted to show up. So the point is, every wizard, a wizard, what have you, which might be the more correct term to call me or think of me, we were crisis workers. And that is the main thing, not just with wizards, but also witches. Those who were in all the old stories, all the old legends, all the old myths, everything that's been handed down, we're the ones always in the shadows that people turn to when things go wrong. So I am that, but I'm much more than just that, because I also do community work. I'm one of these people who, it'll be 3 a.m. I'll be running around giving socks to people freezing on the street, handing out hand warmers, handing out coats to people, clothing items, shoes, coats, everything, tarps. And especially I've worked really hard in this COVID era because things are really rotten out there for people. But I'm just one guy. So the thing is, I guess I do these actions. So the rub with Christianity and Catholicism, that everybody always falls back, oh, they do all the good things for the homeless people, all this. And yes, that's all great, but why do we need the shell of Christianity to move that forward? Like, no one will ever convince me that Jesus is, like, real. Like a real person, yes, historical person, but that it would have to, if you're going to say that, that means that everything that has ever happened, the entire expansion of the universe, everything that's ever created was all for him. The thing I didn't understand about Judaism is they don't really have an answer. The thing is, as superstitious as they get, is they think when someone dies that 24 hours, basically the spirit kind of roams around and then it kind of just goes wherever it goes. And they believe in like hauntings or whatever energy, and there's like demonic ideas or there demon things out there, but that's kind of been forgotten over time. But that's pretty much as far as they go, because they don't necessarily believe in heaven or hell. It's kind of sort of like it's out of our control, and the big thing is the thing that's in control. But they know that the top of the tree of life is the pyramid, right? 1, 2, 3. Life, light, and love. That which makes you ascend. The feelings of vibration. Laughter and joy. The laughter, listening to the laughter of children. It makes you ascend. Seriously, think about it. Think of all the times in your life. Hanging out with like a little kid and they're just laughing and enjoying themselves. That makes you ascend faster than any wackadoo conversation that you're ever going to have with an attempt of evoking a demon or any kind of like deity. All those are its own intrinsic world, you know. But what makes you ascend faster? The laughter of children, life, light, and love. So they know that those are the 3 things they can always hold on to, and it's always hope and faith and light, love, and life, which are the 3 principles that keep everything moving forward. It's pretty much as simple, and they don't have much. So understand all that, and just how corrupted Christianity and Catholicism really are. So once again, back to Judaism, I guess, or back to whatever. So the point is, I guess in the end, what I'm saying is that wisdom is wisdom. It doesn't matter where it's coming from. And my overarching obsession is to learn everything that has been concealed from me. When I was younger, it was the darker stuff, anything that I was never supposed to look at or experience, or I wanted to go there. I wanted to dare. I always wanted to rebel, go as far as I could, learn everything I could. And now I'm like rebelling against myself and forcing myself to learn all the secrets of what could be, considered the holy magic or the white light magic or any of this stuff. But then you realize that, again, light and dark, they just exist. It doesn't matter what we think of them. So this is the perspective that I come from. I'm totally immersed in reality and not human reality. Human reality is this weird, there's people who are heavily psychological and artistic people, and they stand apart from the crowd. And this situation has, with COVID world, has really changed things a lot. And the inside has never been more inside, and the outside has never been more outside. Like, the street has never been more the street. And the people that have been hiding indoors the whole time, like, they have no idea what the real world even looks like. And the people on the street, most of them are clueless as well. This whole situation, oh, man. That's another topic. I could go on forever, but, and then with that, I'll say I'm also a person that my firm belief is that paying rent is for suckers. And I've had a very long life squatting places, finding ways not to pay rent. When I have had to pay rent here and there, when I had to work a job and do all that stuff, I'd be doing it as cheap as possible in like the winter months. But basically, like, since I haven't actually lived anywhere real since 2019. I've basically been mobile this entire time. But then when the world fell apart and all this shit happened beginning of 2020, I basically had to go straight homeless, because the thing was, you can't live with people. You can't use toilets. You can't share showers. You can't share food. You can't share air. All kinds of things. I just knew that it was life or death, and you got to like live outside in a tent, and nobody had the courage. And that's why I've been living in a completely different world, because to me, the world ended years ago. It ended, and I'm just standing around watching everyone. The way that I would describe this, okay? When all this happened, I'm one of these people that I grew up in the 90s watching, The Stand and Outbreak and all these sort of movies and zombie films, same as everybody. And I always thought, what if some crazy plague broke out? What would I do? What would actually happen? What would be the game plan? I spent quite a lot of time thinking about that sort of stuff. So when it actually happened, I kind of just already had some sort of training. And I also understood that it doesn't matter what the rest of the world thinks. You have to know what's happening and go with the facts. and none of these people were researching anything, and they couldn't compute it. And the thing is, when you know something so severe, you can't just unknow it. You can't just pretend it isn't happening. So for me, I saw what the world was becoming. I saw it was actually happening. Everybody was clueless, and it was horrifying that people couldn't figure it out. So I had to go my own way, and ever since then, I have been homeless. I've been avoiding people. I've been kind of in my own world and reading about magic, because shortly before all that happened, I got every single book I ever wanted to do. I was going to read everything and study everything, all this wizardly stuff. It was the whole passion project, and the world ended, and it was like the Twilight Zone with Burgess Meredith, where you can read all the books you ever wanted to read. That was me all through 2020 and 2021. And I did every single last thing I ever wanted to do in life, and all my little check marks, read all the books, painted things. I visited everywhere in my vicinity. I saw everything there was to do. And I turned around and said the last thing is to do some sort of magic broadcast, some sort of magic channel, push the tarot, teach people stuff. I wanted to teach people outdoors, like at the park on a beautiful day with a big red blanket and little tea and little teacups and sandwiches and shit. And I wanted to all this old school, like 1970s sort of stuff, but that isn't the world today. Not anymore. But I'm going to just, I'll finish up in 1 second. Hold on. So yeah, I've basically been homeless the entire duration of COVID world. I don't even know how many weeks it's been. I don't know, whatever. Just on private property in a field. In a little tent in the middle of nowhere in a shit section of a major city somewhere in America. I'll give you that. I'm in America. Where else would I be? Who else is going to have a voice and talk like this but an American? The thing with America's doomed. The whole world is fucked. This whole thing. So anyway, the point is, all this has happened, and I haven't lost any faith of myself. The whole world has like lost their mind, and the thing is, I'm still in 2019 land, because the way I saw it is that, say it's like one of those Halloween attractions where they have the indoor maze you got to go through, and you got to wait in line forever, and it's like some old shopping center that they rented out and turned into one of these things. Well, so when COVID happened, I saw clearly about a year in the future, like it's going to look like this. Like I couldn't only see so far, but it was like I let everybody walk into the haunted house, and I just hung out in the parking lot waiting for them to all come outside while they're all losing their minds in COVID hell world. And but eventually everybody got the vaccine and then left, and now they were all in the parking lot with me, and now the parking lot is filled again with all these people, and there's no way around that. Now it's just the new world. And the thing is, COVID it's taken chunks out of people's brains and driven them half insane. And I have never been infected. I've been very lucky. I've stayed away from people. I haven't worked or anything. But I've kept my mind. And you see, if you hear these recordings and you think I sound a rocker stuff, I sounded like this before all this happened. Like this is nothing new. Like this is me. I feel like I'm more at the top of my game, mentally and physically, than I probably ever have been. Well, maybe not physically. I'm a bit old and slow now, but I'm still in pretty good shape for my age and what have you. And I still got a lot of fire left. And the one thing that I do want is to leave a legacy of at least some recordings, because YouTube will live forever. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how many people go out from plague. Like 100 years from now, all the YouTube videos will still be there because they're all being saved. Government has them saved on different files. Like in Alaska, they got a bunch of shit. In Colorado, they got a bunch of stuff. The Zeta drives, all this stuff. So everything that I'm recording is going to last forever. So if the plague gets me, so be it. I'm glad that I'm going out like this, leaving these messages for the future, because the one thing that is for certain is that since time immemorial, magic has always existed, and magic will continue to exist. And all the greats of Magick, they will continue to exist because they're all in print. And no matter what, you can't burn all the books. You can never get rid of everything. And if YouTube all died, it wouldn't matter because everything I'm talking about has already been laid as foundations. And the most important Magick secrets that you get are the ones that you discover yourself and figure out. I think some of the deepest, most intense Magick secrets I could ever tell you, I don't feel the world is quite ready for. I feel like everything kind of leads you there and you figure that out and you're like, no, I'll let that go to the grave with me. So the thing is, I am an open book to a degree, but I understand Magick knowledge is power, extreme power. There's things that I know that I just feel the world isn't quite ready for it. Those are for me, I guess. But if you study hard enough, the things that I read, you'll find out those things too. So understand that if withholding information is okay, if you feel it's really what's best, because, oh well, someone else will figure it out too eventually, and someone else will post it eventually, I guess, somewhere, maybe 100 years down the line, whatever, don't matter. Because Magick will never die. Forever. As long as a bunch of people go out in the hunt and a bunch of people need to dance around the fire to get everybody psyched up, Magick lives. As long as one person lights a fire and dances around it and dances with the flame, pretending they're the flame, Magick never dies. As long as, that's it. One person goes into the river and pretends they're a bear and scoops up a fish with their bare hands, Magick never dies. As long as one person goes into the forest, deep in the woods, and they're alone from everyone, so they have to think of, like, I must be like a wolf now. In order to get out of this, I gotta think like a wolf. Magick never dies. That's it. And even if all the books were burned of Magick, even if they were all just gone one day, people would figure it all out again. And it kind of sucked that it all go, and then we'd all be forgotten. But guess what? Maybe that would be better because it would all be fresh. It would take over everything again. Magick will always hang around. Superstition will always be here no matter what. The imagination is never going away because that's part of humanity. That's just what we are. We are our imaginations in so many degrees. So, that's kind of it. I feel like in Stephen King's The Stand, remember there's like that one lady who's like on the rebel radio to the very end and the government comes in. Of course, no government's going to come get me. It's just going to be the plague. But I'm going to go down best as I can because what the fuck else is there to do? But anyway, that's where I'm at. I'm cool with the Golden Dawn. To many elements, I would never join, but I'm a friendly. What else? I'm trying to think. I don't really know too much about voodoo, guys. I don't really hang out with many of those folks. I don't really hang out with anybody from the hoodoo crowd, really, because I'm not Christian. I don't got any issues with anybody or anything like that. I'm a little lost in that crowd. Black ceremony magician guys. I just think you're wasting your time. I think the magic exists in you. I don't think it exists in a demon you're trying to summon. I think that any magical weapon that could ever be presented from your own mind, it's stronger. You don't need fucking Azazel to come down and give you a magic dream sword weapon in your mind because your mind is the sword. All of these entities' gifts pale in comparisons to the ones that you create in your own mind and wield yourself because the operator is always the one that's more powerful. Absolutely. Without question. And I would also say furthermore from a superstitious standpoint that if you try to summon ghosts or entities or spirits or what have you, if that's possible, and I like to stay away from saying yes or no to these sort of questions because pseudoscience. But rather just say being superstitious and all, if that is possible, just because something shows up and says it's fucking King Paimon doesn't mean it's King Paimon. Because the thing is, if that's all true, then that thing's dead, and the operator is most powerful. So it's like a leech. It's a leech that's just gonna fucking tell you whatever you want to hear to just feed off you. Because think about it, like what would really be hanging around the astral realm or the realm between death and life or whatever, however you want to phrase it, wherever they're coming from, black magicians. Other black magicians who, like, imagine you, Mr. Black Magician, whoever is hearing this, and everything's going great, whatever, you're on top of the world, you're killing it, you can't just wait, and then you just get hit by a bus, and it's over, and then you're a fucking ghost. Oh shit, what do I do now? I know, I'm gonna go bamboozle some fucking black magic Yahoo somewhere, make them think I'm fucking Lucifer, and then and then it's just madness. Like, how many of these pre-Islamic pagan deities are you calling on, that are just ex-black magic guys who've gone insane because they were obsessed with power, and now they're just stuck on the earth. They can't do anything, if such a thing is true. So, I mean, you can do that, or you can not fight the everything and not fight the all and just union with it. And if we're just a speck of consciousness of everything that exists, why are we fighting ourselves? And that's not a lame, like, oh, I'm going to go to heaven in a big white cloud and St. Peter and a big white man on a throne and a big lake of fire and Jeebus. Like, that shit's so lame. I don't think of it like this. It's all one big thing. And, if you went to the actual source and explained, like, this is what people think about, you, like, it would just laugh. It's just, I don't know, whatever laughter is. I can't, because there's no human personification, not human. We don't even know. It's like impossible. So, the things that we can chart are the primal powers of the universe, scientific things. And the Kabbalah does a great job. The Tree of Life is like a college education in the Dark Ages or the medieval and the Renaissance times. If you know all the concepts, you learn how to do math, you learn how to read, you learn how to write, you learn all the planets, you learn all the zodiac system, you learn the movement of all the stars, you learn all kinds of psychological things. It's one of the most valuable, like, educational courses you could find. And the thing is, people are so lost on it, they don't really understand. So, where else to lead with this? I like to investigate different forms of magic that a lot of people don't necessarily classically think of as magic. Sonic sorcery, olfactory magic, propaganda magic, and comic books, different forms of literature, experimental literature, sound wave manipulation, color magic, different varieties, new ways of doing it, professional wrestling. It's a kind of magic and stuff that you laugh when you hear that, but one day I'm going to do a long talk about it, and you're going to understand, because the things those people do on those crazy, insane gymnastic feats, the ring itself is their altar. They don't understand that they're entering a magical ritual. They've convinced themselves that they're living superheroes playing a role and doing the whole thing, but they're breaking that barrier. The same way that witches break the barrier of their own psyche by casting a circle and wearing the clothes and having a thame and the cup and all the different props. The wrestling ring's another prop, but the wrestlers, they don't understand that tapping into the weird magical force. Magicians don't understand that, but if that's the thing, these people are turning themselves into superheroes, and the ring is their altar. And if we could somehow make every man and woman on Earth all be able to do this crazy gymnastic stuff they do, we'd be like running up trees. We'd be all be like monkeys again. But anyway, these are my thoughts for now. I think I've ranted long enough. I'm Dr. Zeero from the Dr. Zeero Free Magic Show and the Dr. Zeero Free Magic School. I'll be posting a lot of videos in the future. Please get vaccinated if you haven't. I don't know what the fuck to tell you other than that. Okay. Have a nice night, kids.